Welcome to Marianne's Alaska Kitchen. I'm Marianne, and today I'm going to be making a family favorite, chicken adobo. It's a little different from what I see other people making on the internet because I want a lot of broth. I don't want just a little bit of broth. And also I'm using a very controversial ingredient called celery. I have a neighbor who just swears celery is a big no-no, but we love celery in our adobo, so it's going in. And I'm gonna get started on it, so let's get cooking. Got my ingredients here. I want a big pot, because like I said, I like my adobo brothy. I have a big yellow onion. I've got about 5 stalks of celery. I've got some apple cider vinegar. I find this to be a particularly important ingredient, which is McCormick's pickling spice, not another brand, because pickling spices vary a lot, and this, in my opinion, is the best pickling spice, and you're going to get a completely different result if you don't use McCormick. Then I've got some soy sauce, and I've got some chicken, obviously. So I'm gonna start off by searing my chicken in my pot. This is gonna be one pot cooking, which I love, and then I'll make some rice to go with it. So I have my aromatics here, and you can more easily go by cups. I've got about 1.5 cups of celery and about 1.25 cups of onions, because that onion that I just cut up was basically like the size of 3 normal onions. So 1.25 cups of onions and about 1.5 cups of celery, and then I'm gonna get searing those chicken thighs. And I think thighs are just the best whenever you're making anything like coq au vin or any braised chicken. Thighs, barbecue, I just think thighs are the best. They have the best flavor, they have the best amount of fat to meat ratio, and they're just fantastic in this dish. So I put 1 in per person, so I'm gonna do 4 this time. So I'm gonna put some olive oil in the bottom of my deep stock pot. About 2 tablespoons of that. And this has to get up to heat. So I'm searing these. So I want the skin to get very brown. Dump off that juice. I do not want that in the dish. And then I'm going to dry it with paper towels, and we'll be right back. And by that time, my pot will be up to heat. So I've dried off my thighs, and my oil has come up to heat. So I'm not going to season these because there's going to be a lot of seasoning going in. I'm just going to put them right into the oil. If you were making these for a lot of people, make sure you make 1 breast or thigh per person. But, I'm just doing this for our family, so I've got 4 in there, and that's going to be perfect. I'm going to turn my vent on my stove here in a second so I don't get the smoke alarm going. But no seasoning, just get the fat rendered out of the skin. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit so that that rendering happens and it doesn't burn. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to brown it on the other side. Each time it's going to take about 4 minutes. One ingredient, which is an important ingredient. I put in about 6 cloves of chopped garlic. You don't need to finely mince it. It will melt down. This is going to cook for a while, so you don't need to worry about it chopping it finely. And other people do like to add ginger, and it's delicious. If you want ginger in it, chop up about 1.5 inch cube of fresh ginger and put that in when you put your vegetables in. It's been about 4 minutes for this first side. We're going to flip it. And that looks just right. It's perfectly golden brown. The fat is rendering out. And we're going to let that enter our sauce. And it's going to make our sauce just that much more delicious. So I'm going to leave this alone for 4 minutes. And let it get equally brown, and then I'll start adding my other ingredients. Also, if you're doing more than just a few thighs, because you're feeding a lot more people, just do it in batches, and then you can throw it all back in on top of each other. That won't hurt the process at all. So just take the ones in your pot out and brown the rest of your thighs, and then add the rest of your ingredients. Most of the ingredients will take about the same. You could add a little more vinegar, a little more water, a little more soy sauce. But basically this recipe will do if you're doing it for 4 to 8. If you're doing it for more, you should add more water and add more vinegar and add a little bit more soy sauce. So while this is finishing browning, I've got a little metal tea ball. If you don't have one of these, you can wrap it up in some cheesecloth and tie it off. Or just get one of these. They're very cheap. I'm going to fill that up with the pickling spice, so I'm not having to pick out bay leaves and chunks of pepper, because this is not necessarily something you want to have in your bowl. I'm going to fill up both sides. This spice adds so much to the dish. You definitely want to use it. And like I said, McCormick is the best. So I've got both sides of my pickling spice ball, my tea ball. I'm going to pop it together. And that's going to just go right into the pot. I'm going to make sure this doesn't look easy, even though it really is. So this is browned on both sides. In that tea ball goes. In goes our celery, our garlic, and our onions. Really nice about the smell of this, and if you've never tried chicken adobo, try it. You will love it. It's not, it sounds exotic, it's not exotic. It's just really delicious. So I've got my aromatics in there. I've got my tea ball in. I'm going to give it a little quick stir so that I get those vegetables. That beautiful brown chicken. And you don't have to brown the chicken, but you should, because that fond creates flavor, and you want all the flavor you can get. And you see those vegetables have kind of instantly started becoming translucent because of the high heat. I'm going to throw in about a quarter of a cup of soy sauce, maybe a little bit more than a quarter, but approximately a quarter. Then I'm going to put in about a cup and a half of vinegar, and then I'm going to put in 2 cups of water. And in that goes. You can see I've made a good deal of broth for that meat, and it's going to be fantastic. So I'm going to pop a lid on this. It's going to go for about 45 minutes. Once it comes to a boil, I'll set a timer. I'll turn it to simmer. It's always bring to a boil, reduce to a simmer. So I'm going to bring it to a boil. I'm going to pop a lid on it, and then I'm going to reduce it to a simmer. And set a timer for 40 minutes. My rice will be done by that time, and it's going to be some good eating. So we'll see you in 40 minutes. So I've put a cup and a half of rice in a little medium-sized pot. I'm going to put 2.5 cups of water in it, so it's about 2 inches above the rice. If you have a rice cooker, you don't have to pay attention to this at all. I'm going to bring it to a boil, put a cover on it, reduce it to a simmer, and cook it for 15 minutes, and it will be perfect. Rice is on, it's done. The smell in here is amazing. And this beautiful pot of loveliness. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to eat. So we'll see you in a sec. So, as they say, the proof is in the adobo.
That is what they say.
That is, it's totally what they say.
Mm.
So.
That smells good.
Oh, it smells so good.
Mm.
I could literally drink this sauce. It's so good. So fabulous. Mm. I hope you try this recipe. American taste buds will love this, even though it sounds strange. Having a vinegary, brothy chicken and rice dish, but it is so good. And the spices from the pickling spice, it just makes it amazing. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment, and I'd love to chat back with you. And thanks for visiting us. We'll see you next time.